So you want to make sure that people, they trust your site and they are okay to spend money with you online. I would say social proof is the major thing. Number one thing. Below 7-figure, almost everyone has this issue. Regarding social proof, you cannot overdo this. You cannot have too many reviews or too much social proof. It's just not a thing. So just add as many as possible, basically.
Welcome to Built Online. I'm Cody McGuffie, and this podcast is all about one thing: building the business of your dreams. Selling art, teaching classes, starting a blog, launching a brand, whatever your passion is, we show you how to turn it into real income. I created EverBee to help anyone with a dream start and scale a business.
EverBee.
And we now serve over 800,000 creators all across the globe. On this show, we bring on real entrepreneurs who've done it. They share their secrets, they share their failures, the exact steps that you can take to get started. What if you can get one golden nugget out of today's episode? And it's the breakthrough that takes you from just dreaming to actually living a life on your terms. At EverBee, we believe that every human is a creator, and every creator should own a business. Daniel, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, Cody, thanks for the invite. I'm doing great. How about you? How is everyone?
Great, man. I'm very happy to have the conversation today. Super excited to have you on. Tell me, kind of give everybody a backstory of you, if you don't mind, like the short story of where you started and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, sure. So I will start it a bit far, but I think you will like that. So I started as a geologist, and I studied that for 6 years at the university. And I wanted to work in the petroleum industry. And I know you are in Austin, Texas. Actually, my thesis was about the oil fields of Texas and the Gulf of Mexico. And then after finishing this 6-year journey at the university that I really enjoyed, I didn't find a job with this, and I just tried other jobs, and pretty soon I ended up on the internet just looking for opportunities, and I found a website called Upwork. It's a freelancing platform. Mm-hmm. Probably many of you know this platform, and I registered, and I tried a couple things: video editing and then design. I'm a terrible designer. So I just ended up as a copywriter. Writing is something that I really like. I always loved writing. And I just became an ad copywriter, email copywriter. And somehow I just stuck to it. And it went pretty well. And after 1 year, I quit my job. I became independent from any other companies. And we just became an agency after a while. I started
people hiring you were like on Upwork were like businesses, or were they solo people?
Yeah.
Or like who were hiring?
Yeah, exactly. Businesses, entrepreneurs. I remember my first project was probably $30 or $40. Somebody from LA, which is really funny to think about now. That's where I started, and it went well. Clients were happy. And after a while, I hired other copywriters, and then we actually turned into an email marketing agency for e-commerce companies. We were one of the first users of Klaviyo, and by 2018, we became around 20 people company, basically. And it's 7 years ago, which is crazy to think about, but later on, we added more services, more types of clients, and really by now, we became an e-commerce growth agency. We try to help e-commerce companies across all different marketing channels and really grow them, not just use email, but ads, their website, and everything marketing related, basically.
Beautiful. And by the way, this is called. How do I pronounce your last name? Is it Budai?
It's like Dubai, but Budai, so very similar. Yeah.
So Budai Media is your agency, and it's the e-commerce growth agency. Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about, because I think it's cool to have you on here, because a lot of our listeners, as we've talked about, are chapter 1, chapter 2 of their e-commerce journey. Most of them are e-commerce, I would say product focused. There's some service focused people on here too, for sure, and some startups and tech, but a majority are product, I would say. and they're chapter 1, chapter 2, meaning like they're finding product market fit, they're launching products, they're just starting their Facebook ads, and they're trying to understand SEO and Google and and all this stuff. So it's cool to have you come on here and share experience of like probably chapter 3 of like, okay, now we're scaling. What point do clients come to you guys and say, okay, I want to hire Budai Media? Revenue, size, years in business, like what does that typically look like for you?
Yeah, sure. I would say most of the clients, they are in the seven-figure annual revenue range and eight figures. So typically these. Sometimes we have smaller clients or even bigger clients, like in the nine-figure range. I would say for larger clients, it's typically more like a consultation or mentoring their teams. And for smaller clients, we have a minimum monthly fee, and they cannot always jump that number. So that's why it's typically seven, eight-figure companies, and
Mm-hmm.
70% of our clients, they are in the US or Canada. So we are US heavy. We have the rest of them mostly in the UK. So definitely English speaking market, physical e-commerce products, D2C, and typically industries where the product is very visual. Um, Supplement products, apparel and fashion products, um, home decor, furniture companies, mostly these, because I think we are really good at design, and that's something important for them, and
And
we
when you
help
say
them.
design, like design of copy, like, or I'm sorry, design of like ads, ad design, or are you talking about like design of like product packaging, all this stuff? Like, what are we talking about design?
Mhm. Yeah, sure. Ultimately, email creatives and ad creatives, and also landing pages, product pages. So everything that is visual, we are really good at the visuals. We have great
I see.
designers in the team. Yeah.
I have so many questions because I love this stuff. So primarily, you guys are the e-commerce growth agency, but your specialty up to this point has been email, the email retention marketing or email
Yeah.
marketing side of
Yeah.
things. It sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That was our first service when I launched the company. That's something I did myself alone when I started as a freelancer. It's still our core service, and we turned into an e-commerce growth agency. But I think most agencies who focus on growth and growth hacking, they came from a media
Mhm.
buying background. They know Facebook ads, Google ads, and they add more services. We actually did the opposite direction. We started with email. We understand retention, lifetime value of the customers really well, and then we added extra services like ads or website management. So
Hmm.
that's been our journey basically.
I could see that. To set some context for everybody too, you already talked about the industry. So you mentioned supplements, all the way from supplements to fashion, clothing, probably, right?
Yeah,
Clothing and hats and things like this,
yeah,
and even to you mentioned the other one. What was the other? Oh, fashion, like home decor. So these are like
yeah, yeah.
three different worlds, and it seems like so you guys can serve all of these, including others, probably.
Yeah, so we actually have a database. I even share this with potential clients so they can take a look at it. We've had around 200 clients up to date, and I think 40% of them, they are in apparel and fashion. That's the biggest one. And
Fashion.
then you mentioned home decor, supplement. Sometimes we have very exotic industries as well, like CBD. I think we had one THC company as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, like really wild industries sometimes. We even sold anima figures in Japan. So we don't have limits. But I think these three that you mentioned, that's where our specialty lies, like apparel, supplement, um, and home decor furniture
It seems
mostly.
to me that just high level perspective would be like
Mhm.
supplements would be like probably the best business to be in there just because of the recurring aspect
Yeah,
of like
yeah,
repeat buying of the supplements. It runs
yeah,
out, it's consumable versus fashion. You buy the shirt or buy the very nice pants or the
yeah.
hat like one time, maybe a couple times a year. And then you have the home decor, kind of the same thing. But it sounds like that's not a requirement for you guys to be successful with these
Mhm.
brands, the recurring aspect. Is that true?
Yeah, that's a great question because I thought about this a lot as well. That consumable products, could be also pet products, baby products, everything that is consumable. And actually, that's not always the case. So we can see there is a company in Canada. They sell chandeliers for $500 or even 1 or 2K. Or we have a sauna brand. They sell luxurious saunas for five up to $20,000, and you would think that email is not important there or retention, and actually half of their revenue comes from email marketing. So, and it's not because of the retention piece, but because of their long funnel, that people, they see an ad, they see a retargeting ad, they Google your, the brand, they receive an email, and the funnel is very long. It can be even 6 months, by the time they buy this expensive product. And that's why email marketing is so important. So there are many different factors, or we can see stores where there is a winning product and people buy it very often, even if you wouldn't expect this. Like, yeah, we have this company, they sell dog harnesses,
Hmm.
and they buy it regularly, not for themselves, but to their friends who also have pets. And the returning customer rate is really high. So I always try to niche down on this, so only consumables, only supplements. But somehow in practice, we always find those brands and we take on them and we are successful with them, where it's not very consumables, or you wouldn't think like that, but it still works out very well. So that's why at this point we don't limit the clientele based on this.
Can we go through that for just a minute? The dog harness as an example, just like to
Sure.
get tactical for a minute because it sounds fun to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
To kind of nerd out on it. So let's say the dog harness brand,
Yeah.
and let's say it's my brand, and I want to grow this brand. I want to scale it right through with retention marketing and then just
Yeah.
growth marketing in general.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you would ask me that I could just hammer out to you? Like you almost treat me as if I'm a potential client, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. So how to scale this brand ultimately, right? That's the question.
Hmm.
Or
Yeah,
what should
exactly.
we focus on? Yeah.
Like,
I
what do I
mean,
need to know? I need to have my numbers in place, right? Like, what's my LTV or what's my
yeah.
average order value, things like this.
Yeah, sure. So there are some elements which depend on us less. I would say product market fit. We typically work with clients where it already exists. So there is some product market fit. And as a business owner, you have to find that, I think. And then, yeah, when a client comes to us, we typically focus on, I would say, four main levers. So one is how much people they spend on the average on the website. So this is typically the average order value and the conversion value, or actually the two numbers can be merged into one, which is revenue per visitor on your website. If
Mm.
you think about AOV, and the conversion rate of the site really ends up with revenue per website visitor. That's one important metric.
What's a good number there that I should shoot for dog harnesses?
I don't remember on the top of my head. I always say if you want to use ads in the US, shoot for a minimum $50 AOV.
$50 AOV, and then per click, my CAC would probably be my customer acquisition cost would be hopefully less than 50, right? Much less than 50, $20
Yeah,
probably, right?
yeah,
Considering
yeah,
considering profit. So that means my per click would be maybe $1 per revenue per click. I mean, would I shoot for $1, maybe $2? Is that too high?
I mean, typically it's 3 to 1, the CAC and LTV ratio. Now, actually, I mentioned another acronym, which is LTV, right? So we can come
Mhm.
back to this.
Yep.
But if your acquisition, like CAC AOV ratio is 1 2 3, that's great. So if the AOV is 50 and your CAC is like 15 or $20, I think that's good. Uh,
Beautiful. And for coming back to that, for anyone listening to this, like where did Daniel and Cody go? If you're brand new, LTV is lifetime value,
yeah, yeah,
and AOV is average order value. It's just the amount
yeah.
of what on average what do people spend on when they order?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So now we can jump to the next one, which is LTV. So basically, lifetime value of a customer, which is a very figurative or very abstract thing to say. Nobody wants to wait a lifetime of their customers. So typically for a new business we use LTV 90 days, for a larger business LTV 1 year. But basically you want to have a timeline, a time horizon for this LTV metric. You can see it in a tool like Triple Whale or different software tools, and you can compare it to your acquisition cost, the LTV metric. And typically, if it's 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5 is already really good, I would say. I have a client in Europe where it's 1 to 8, so their acquisition
Wow.
is it's very cheap compared to the lifetime value of customers. It's a hair care product, and the people they buy it every month. The relatively high price, so it's a really good business model. So
What are
LTV,
typical profit margins
yeah,
for your clients? I would say across all of them.
profit margins. So yeah, that's one thing. Which is everyone defines a profit margin differently, right? Like what this really means. If you ask me, I would say there is revenue and then minus cost of goods. Then you end up with the gross margin, and then minus ad spend and your marketing spend. You end up with your contribution margin after those. And then you have your fixed cost, which can be your accountant, your office, whatever. It's not related to the unit cost that you have. So it doesn't matter how many products you sell, you still pay your accountant, you still pay your office, all of those. So
Keeping the
once you
lights
deduct,
on.
sorry.
Keeping the lights on.
Yeah, exactly. So once you deduct those, then you will get your net profit margin. I just want to clarify these
Perfect.
terms. But probably you ask about the gross margin, I assume. So
Sure. Let's start there.
revenue
Yeah.
minus cost of goods. Then it really varies. So it can be 90-95%. Like there was this skincare brand where they manufacture the product in-house, like almost at home, and it's 95%. While others, they sell, extreme example, they sell hardware in Australia and it's like 30%. So there we really need a 7-10x ROAS on their ads to see a good return. So it can vary a lot. I would say you want to shoot for 70-80%. So your
Gross
cost
margin.
of goods should be 20%, 25. Personally, I wouldn't start a business where it's more than that. I really like selling air, high margins, because you can spend on marketing. And I know my strength is marketing. That's the other thing. If you feel your strength is more the product, maybe you could be more okay to have a lower margin and really have a good product, spend less on marketing. So depends on what you want. Yeah, it's a consideration, I would say.
I agree with it. I like that we're having the conversation because many times people aren't thinking about these things when they start the
Yeah,
business. I know I wasn't. I was just like, I want to sell this, and you figure
yeah,
out the margins later on, and you realize that a year later, oh wow, this is actually a really hard business just by default
yeah,
because the numbers just don't make sense, and it's better to catch this on the front end of things rather than like you're
yeah,
5 years in and you're like, oh wow, no wonder it's so hard because I can't spend any money to get the customers, because I run out of money.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Super important. And this is still my first business, by the way, but I'm in an agency, so I can see a lot of businesses. Probably at some point I will start another business. At that point I will be so much more educated on these numbers. It's just so different, like it was almost like a random decision when I started this agency, like what to do. It was very random what I started doing. So yeah, I think by time you get smarter and these numbers, and you start being less emotional about these decisions, the numbers and what truly makes sense for you, which is just super important.
I agree.
Yeah.
What do you think are the things that when a client comes to you, let's say I'm doing $1 million a year in annual
Mhm.
revenue, and I'm selling dog leashes, for example. What are some things that you guys would do almost like right away, like first
yeah.
30 days, 60 days, 90 days? What would you guys have me do?
Yeah, great question. First of all, we would ask you a lot of questions, about these metrics and all of that, but also about your audience. And one unique thing we do is we check your reviews, and actually we use AI to summarize your reviews to see what your customers say, how your product is different, how it works. Because it's one thing what the business owner says, but another what the customer says. And many times we find unique angles using this approach. And the next would be to audit the main marketing channels, so Meta ads, Google ads, email, reviewing the website, typically these four things, auditing them. And then we decide what's the lowest hanging fruit. Is it Meta ads or Google ads or email marketing, maybe your website, which is probably the most undervalued by business owners. They forget that the purchase happens on the website. They usually focus on the ads acquisition side or email marketing, but they really miss on the website, and how it could be improved a lot. So
What are some things on the website that they could improve? Like, what's some of the low hanging fruit on the website?
yeah, sure. So I would say typically for a smaller business, number one thing, believe it or not, it's social proof. So I go to your website and it seems like not a real business, or even if I believe that okay, this is a legit business, legit product, but I cannot see any testimonials, press coverage, what your benefits are. But I would say social proof and really building trust in the eyes of people. Nowadays we have so many scams and so many just e-commerce businesses out there and products, right? Like there is a huge choice out there. So, and then Amazon as well. So you want to make sure that people, they trust your site and they are okay to spend money with you online. So I would say social proof is the major thing, number one thing. Below seven figure, almost everyone has this issue. And regarding social proof, you cannot overdo this. You cannot have too many reviews or too much social proof. It's just not a thing. So just add as many as possible, basically.
So, like 10 to start with, and then plus 100 is totally okay. And just having it almost like in a carousel or just kind of scattered throughout the site is important.
I like making this overwhelming, like people look at it and they are like, oh my God, wow, so many reviews, it's crazy. So I would just, add them there close to the footer, the reviews. You can use different apps, but actually I would use these, for example, customer reviews in multiple sections. So not just once, at the bottom with an app, but also you can add this next to your add to cart, some highlighted review, somebody talking about the main benefit of the product, and then add the press coverage, for example, works out really well. Add a photo to your product images where you just take a photo of great customer reviews, add before and afters. So there are multiple angles how you can really use social proof for your website.
Hmm. What's another one? Social proof. How about like load speed? Any of that? How often are you seeing load speed being an issue?
Yeah, sure. So I can see this as an issue, but to be honest, nowadays most ecom stores, they are built on Shopify, and I just shot a video about this the other day. That I think 5-10 years ago, speed was a huge issue, and UX. But nowadays, Shopify is just so good, and it's standardized, that I don't think is the main problem anymore. So of course you can improve it, and there are many slow sites, but it's not that terrible. So I
I
can
see.
see sites with terrible ratings, but the conversion rate is still there because people, they trust the site, they want to buy, so it's fine.
Hmm. Beautiful, man. Um, I think it's a good time to transition into rapid fire. You ready for rapid fire questions?
Let's do that.
What is your favorite business book?
Oh wow. I have some books in front. Yeah, I really like one book. It's called Creativity Inc. And it's written by Ed Catmull.
I've never
Yeah.
heard of the book. Okay.
Ed Catmull, and I think he's one of the founders of Pixar. And yeah, he talks about principles in business, but also there is a lot of storytelling. That's why I like it. You know, it's not
Mm.
too dry, not too hardcore. There are stories, probably five, six principles broken down in the book. It also talks about Steve Jobs because they were friends. And I think he acquired Pixar or he got some equity or something like that. So it's a cool book. And the last couple pages there he summarizes all his principles, which is really useful.
Mm. What's one thing that you wish that you knew before starting your business?
Hmm, that's a great question. So I think there is this phrase that focus is so important in business, and yeah, it's just crucial. But I think I took it too seriously too early. So I focused on one thing, email marketing, which helped me to a certain extent, but also for like 6 7 years I didn't experiment with other things, other services. And just recently I started, and it benefited us so well, the company and me as well. And yeah, I think if I started experimenting with more services earlier, more things, that would have been even better. Yeah.
That's awesome. What's the worst advice that you've ever received about business?
Wow. I never thought about this actually. Um, Worst advice.
It's supposed to be challenging.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that. We'll come back
Yeah.
to that one.
Let's do that. Yeah.
How many hours do you think that you work in your business per week on average?
I would say around 50, 60 hours at the moment.
You're sprinting. You're going after it still. Good for
Yeah,
you.
still. Actually, I doubled down this year. I watched too much Hormozy, I guess. Last year it was less. Yeah.
Nice. If your family and your friends and your customers had to get together without
Mm.
you, and you're not allowed to be there, and they had to write an honest article or book about you, and they were characterizing your traits, the good stuff, and also maybe the not so good stuff, what are some things that they would say?
Oh, I really like this one. So I would say they would tell that I'm reliable and kind of a loyal person. If you know our employee churn, you can see that as well. It's a very loyal team, and I think I try to set an example there too. So reliable as well, very data driven, kind of a nerd for sure. And where we don't excel, I think we could improve in creativity actually. So we have a lot of introverted data driven people, but sometimes we don't have enough, just being a bit silly, funny, and having this highly energetic extroverted energy basically.
Hmm.
um, so that's something that we could improve on, and I could also improve for
Hmm.
sure.
How would you define a creator? Who is a creator to you in the business world? You meet with a lot of entrepreneurs. Are they all
Mhm.
creators or is it only content creators? How would you define creator?
Yeah, that's a good one. So yeah, I used to think about creating stuff like, building a startup, like coming up with a super original idea, nobody ever seen this before, and that person is a creator, especially if he can build it big. And but now I can see that it's usually just copying or stealing from others, or just putting small pieces into one thing and just selling it to people. Yeah, so I think it changed a lot, this definition to me, a creator. I think a creator is really just repackages something old, or just collects the pieces that already exists and sells it to people. And
Mm.
actually, a creator is a good salesman as well, because there are so many innovators, creators, but they cannot sell it. So sales is a huge part as well.
I like that. Who do you think should be a business owner?
Yeah, so I think Yeah, those people should become a business owner. First of all, have this creator mentality. That's for sure. Have want to learn sales. Um, I think that's super important. Sales and marketing, and you are good with stress, especially in the early days. You are okay to work hard and really just finding opportunities and leverages. And in the early days, it will be your work and your time. That's the
Mm,
only leverage most beginners they have. But over time, you will have more. So you are good at finding these leverages, the 80-20 of things, and really implement it in your business.
I love it. Thank you, Daniel. Where can people find you and follow you and get connected with you? What can people do?
Sure. So you can go to YouTube. I have a very active YouTube channel and type in Daniel Budai, my name. You can also find me on other platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, even Twitter. And also check out our site, thebudaimedia.com, if you want to work with us or download our resources. Now we have a lot of cheat sheets. We just uploaded our top 100 email templates. They made more than $5 million, these 100 emails. So check those out on the site. And yeah, let's talk.
Amazing, man. And by the way, for anybody listening or watching this, we will link to all those links in the show notes or in the YouTube description below. Daniel, man, thank you very much for coming on and sharing your value. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, man. Talk to you soon.